going to present. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for choosing our workshop. So exciting. Christina and I are really happy to be here with all of you to share something that is really, really near and dear to our heart. We are currently in a doctoral program together. We're actually doctoral candidates. And our work today is going to be focused on a research article that we read early on that was very impactful to us. So impactful that we really felt that it was important to share it as many times and as often as we could. We've shared it here at the district level. We both work in the same district, and we're really excited to share it with you today.
It's not letting me share. It's just saying oh wait, it's saying, oh, here we go. I'm sorry. I'm on this page. Okay, here we go. Hi, everybody. And like Monica said, I'm really excited. I've been to, coming to the Long Island Teachers Institute since I started teaching at South Country schools. I think almost every year I've been going, and it's always just such a powerful day and a lot of great people, a lot of great conversations. So we're really excited to talk to you guys today. So our topic is called Naming Cultural Discontinuity. And you saw our bio. Right now, let's just, everyone, if you could put in the chat box, like say hello, tell us your name, what your title is, your job position, whatever, and your school district. And we'd like to know if you're familiar with cultural discontinuity at all, just so we could kind of get a little sense. We wouldn't want to talk over or under in any way. So let's just put in the chat, say hello.
Hi, Sue. Hi, Christina. Hi, Carmen. Hi, Christine. Nicole.
Hi, ladies. I'm so proud of you.
Hi, Carmen.
Thank you.
Oh, is it?
Hello, everyone. Oh, a nice mixed bag of locations. So we're getting, I think, a lot more no's than yeses, which is exciting. We want to make sure that what we're providing is relevant and fresh for you guys. Not familiar, no. Hi, Ramino. Hi, Diane. Hi, everybody. Eileen. Sorry, I can't get to everybody. Kristen.
Okay, so I'm going to just start talking a little bit about what our goals are, like what's our why, like why Monica and I are really here. And we really appreciate you guys unmuting anytime and talking, because this is a small group. It looks like there's like 25 or 30.
30. Perfect number.
Yeah, so, we have been researching a little bit because we're in this program where we're researching a little bit about, culturally responsive and sustaining education and teaching. And as teachers of culturally and linguistically diverse students, ELLs included, we're always trying to create equitable learning experiences. We're always trying to be culturally responsive. And you guys are teachers of ELLs, you're doing this also. And we feel really confident in our, work in that. And we also really want to tap on into a little bit more today of the part of the phrase culturally responsive and sustaining. We want to think of that word sustaining a little bit more. So today our goal is really to identify really the integrity of the cultural based experiences of our students. We know that they are culturally diverse, linguistically diverse. And so this group today, all of you brilliant people, we want to really reconnect and reacquaint ourselves with our knowledge. You guys have knowledge, we all have knowledge about our students, and reacquaint ourselves with the cultural based experiences that we see in our students that they possess. So that's one of the things we're going to do. And we want to really connect again with one another to share how some of our students are experiencing cultural discontinuity in schools today, and how that's problematic. And then the other thing is we want to really understand some of the results of that, like what's happening because of that. And then really to consider, as a response, to be culturally responsive, one way Monica and I believe is that to really be engaged in dialogue with cultural groups, heterogeneous, homogeneous cultural groups. This right here today is a homogeneous cultural group. We are all teachers of CLD students. So, this is a great opportunity to talk with one another and really just engage in a process of conversation, reflect a little bit, and grow a little bit more together. Okay? Sound good?
Nice.
All right, Monica.
Yep. So listen, we've got 40 minutes, so we're going to scratch the surface here, but we want to give you an opportunity to first understand, for those of you that do not are not familiar with cultural discontinuity, what it is. And you can read the slide, but it is a school-based behavioral process where the cultural value-based learning preferences and practices of many of our CLD students are discontinued at school. What does that mean? It means that very similarly to how as teachers of ELLs, teachers of CLD students, we're always cognizant of the fact that we are continually addressing both content and language in the classroom. Similarly, culturally, we're always addressing two different cultural paths: the culture of the mainstream school, mainstream classroom, and the culture of the student, right? So that is, and where do those two intersect, right? When our students come into the classroom, you can move on to the next slide, Christine. When our kids come into the classroom, they're coming from a set of cultural values that their cultural group favor. And within that, there are many gifts and treasures and talents that our students bring. But when that intersection happens between those values and the values of mainstream culture, we're losing a very big opportunity here. And we are, in essence, that old word assimilation, right? That's really not the goal. We don't want our students to assimilate. As teachers, we want to be able to be aware and recognize some of the cultural norms, some of the values of their culture, and we want to utilize them to support learning, teaching and learning. But we also want to, as Christine mentioned, make it a sustainable part of the learning experience and the learning environment. And that's what cultural discontinuity is about.
So for today, we're going to do a little breakout session right away. If you click on the word Google Slides, it's going to bring you to a Google Slide breakout, and Monica's going to actually put you in the breakout sessions while I'm explaining this. So what we're going to do is we're going to, each of us are going to be in a group. We're going to read a little part of an article, a research study. It's a pretty lengthy study, but it's just a baseline for us. It just helps us to reconnect with some of the knowledge that we might have learned when we first took multicultural education, and we haven't had an opportunity to maybe revisit in a while, but it will connect us to our experiences currently with students that we have in our classrooms every single day. And so you will read a little bit, just one part. You'll choose, you'll be put into a group, and you pick, you get to read one part, a cultural group. And in your group, you're going to then put into the Google Slides your new understandings, your takeaways, and you'll get to put some notes in there. And then after we're done doing the reading and the sharing out into the Google Slide, that jigsaw activity will come back and we'll talk together with one another about what was some global collective takeaways. Okay, Monica, how's it going on the breakout?
Good. I think I just posted the link. Please put the link in the chat. I think I just did that. Can you see if that leads you to the slides presentation with the article link in it? Or is it the article link that you can't open up? You just unmute.
Thank you. I was just looking for that. I don't know if that was the link to the Google Slides that you referenced, Christine, in the last slide.
Yeah,
I was trying to see if I could find it to throw in the chat.
Oh, Monica did it and I just did it again. So those
Great.
are the
Perfect.
Google Slides.
And then this is the link to the article, if you need it. I think that's the link to the article. Yeah. Okay, so if you're ready, I'm just going to put you in automatically assigned breakout rooms, okay? We'll see you in 10 minutes.
If anybody has a question, before you go into the breakout rooms, if you want to just unmute and ask for
Could
clarity.
you actually enable sharing so that we can share the article in our breakout group?
Oh, right.
If you could enable sharing for all of us.
Right. That's a great idea. Thank you. I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't know if we can enable sharing, but we're going to work on that. So each of you are going to take a look at what your breakout room number is, go to your assigned slide. You will see there what portion of the article you need to read. You'll read it. And as a group, just jot down some notes of things that struck you. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and send you there, and then we'll work on the sharing thing. Thank you.
Okay, Monica, so you're putting me in a breakout room and you're gonna go in one?
You can just say no to it if you want, and then we can just pop into rooms. I'll show you how to do that.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna just say late for now.
So Christine, how do we do with that sharing thing that she mentioned?
Yeah, so let me see. So
And what does she mean by share with participants?
I did share the Google, when they go to the Google Slides, they'll be able to click on that article, so they can put those two things side by side on their computer.
So it's 2:26. We'll come back at 2:36. So the rooms worked, right? Is anybody left in here?
There's a bunch of people still here.
Not sure why that is. Screen.
There are 8 people remaining. 6. Okay, we're down to 6, including the 3 of us. So it's just 3 people are unassigned.
3 people.
We can move them.
unassigned.
1, 2, 3. Let's see.
So it says not joined. Maria Rodriguez not joined. So she was assigned. She just hasn't joined them. Should I? And then,
Everybody should be assigned to a room right now.
okay. Miss Rodriguez, Rodriguez is still not. She's in room 1.
I'm gonna join room 5 just to see if they have any questions.
Yeah, and I'll start with room 1 and work my way.
Hi, Monica. They were doing great. Breakout 5. Oh no. They were 4.
Hi.
Oh, hi, how you doing?
Good. We're having some connection issues.
Oh, with the, or just the
I think it's just in our building. I'm with another teacher. We're sharing a room, so we're alternating, like muting, but we can't access any of the links.
oh no.
Yeah, so they recommended we come back to the main room. I don't know if there's like another way to access the article.
Okay, so what breakout room are you?
6.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Hello.
Hi, some of the participants need the link to the Google
The
Doc.
article or to the
Yeah.
Google Doc. Okay.
Yeah, we're having connection issues in our building. I'm sharing a room with another teacher. She left the breakout room. to
Yes,
try
she just came to
get
the
it,
main
but-
room to look for help.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that's what she. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go back to the main room. Let me see if I can grab the link from here because it was
I mean, I see,
Going
but
in.
I think if I put in the chat, it's not going to be in this chat.
Honestly, I'm really not
I'm
sure.
gonna mute myself.
I'm sure we did, they didn't.
And also, can that participant come back into this room?
All right, let me know. I just shared it in the chat. Do you see the link to the article now? Are you able to access that?
Yeah, I see what you just posted. I'm not sure.
Yes, I see the link.
And they also need the link to the Google, to the.
Yeah,
share-
I'm wondering if even if I screenshot it. 'cause
Okay,
can
I
see
have
on
it, and now I can
screen share.
probably just send it to
Okay, yeah.
my coworker who is.
My issue is just when I'm clicking anything, nothing is loading in Safari for us. So I don't know if maybe like I can screenshot it from the screen sharing. Yeah, I'll try again. Maybe we can try that because I'm clicking the link, but nothing, it's just not loading. I think it's probably just our building. I think it's our connection issues. Because it's opening in Safari and nothing is opening in Safari for me. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I don't think it's at all related to like the, you guys, or the materials. I think it's just our building too.
Do you see
Right.
my screen now?
I did before, but not anymore.
Me too.
Because I have access to both things. I just can't share my screen.
Do you see it now, the article?
Yes.
Yes.
Screenshot it, so now I can see it. Okay.
Can they also get a link to the Jigsaw activity?
No. Yeah, we're Microsoft.
Well, I'm going to have to stop sharing if you want me to go get the other link. Were you able
Yeah.
to grab that link out of the chat when I shared it or no?
I was, yes.
You were, okay. Dr. Grant, were you able to?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see it. By the way, hi. I was so excited to see you, Dr. Grant.
Thank you. I was excited to see you too. I could try typing it here. Let me type this in.
Okay.
Can you see it in this chat? I just put it in the chat.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Can everyone see that?
This is amazing. We were in 6, but so I don't know if it's our internet. I don't know if it's because we don't have Google at our district. You
Can I-
can. I mean, I have a screenshot of the article, so we can start reading it, I guess, in our building.
And I can type the question, the prompt in the chat from Breakout Room 6 if I.
You have to go through room 5 to get to room 6.
I
you
don't know,
can't-
I'm lost. Whatever
can't
you guys
move
want-
somebody-
wherever you want me to go.
So she's technically already in room 6.
Oh.
So you can't move somebody.
So I can click join breakout room and that'll probably take me back to 6, right?
Yes.
All right, I'll do that then. Thank you, guys.
Mhm.
So I just came back from Breakout Room 6. and I shared the link with them again for the article. I think they were able to all access that. I think they're now just trying to access the Google Doc.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's,
So-
they're not a Google school. They use Microsoft. What happens in that case?
That's such a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, so if someone doesn't have Google.
So we're gonna give them 2 more minutes.
Monica, just to confirm, there were only 6 rooms, right?
Just 6 rooms, yep.
Yep, great. So I doubled up on the one, breakout room 2 and 6 have the same. I see 2 people on there, so, oh no, that's you, Monica.
So yeah, I visited every room. Everybody was good. Except 6. Because I know you guys were
They're
on
not
it.
all from the same district. So even if just one of them can access the Google Doc, they could, that person can just be the scribe for the group.
Monica, can you see my screen right now with the
I can, yep.
and the links for all those articles?
Yep.
So is it better to be in presentation mode, or is this mode okay, the way I
I
have it?
like the other mode better, honestly, for me, because I can see better.
Yeah, it's much better. But when I do it that way, I can't see my speaker notes. I can't see.
Oh, okay, so I mean, then do this.
I think it's fine if I,
So now, Christine, we're going to return to the actual slideshow, because we're gonna do a gallery walk, right?
right. We're gonna ask, one person to share out.
Okay, I'm gonna close all the rooms. I know 6 isn't gonna have time, but we need to keep going.
Now, can you see my screen now?
Yep,
Okay.
all right, it's counting down. Everyone's coming back. Look at how nice they are.
No, people are very creative with like colors.
Mainstream culture, individualism, and competition. Such a great article.
So breakout 5. Breakout 5 is doing Latin American. You see?
Okay,
I think that was just a little error there, but I'll
oh, I see. They should
Yeah.
have done Native American.
because when I went to visit them, they said we're doing breakout 5.
I think the numbers on the slides might be confusing.
Oh, right. Hello.
Can we take those
Alright,
numbers
so-
out?
Right here. The actual breakout room on the slide.
No, the numbers on each side, the side of the slides. See that?
Oh, that's the page number mark. I don't know. All right, so you want to start up with the gallery walk? I
Yeah.
think everyone's back.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Guys, you really brought these slides to life. Thank you so much. I know 10 minutes is not enough time, but I hope that you got a taste of how interesting this article really is. We're going to start with Breakout Room 1. Who would like to speak about some of the highlights that they discovered regarding mainstream cultural values in schools? Just unmute, and you don't have to read it, just talk about what it was that you found interesting.
So I think what our group mostly found was that just the general structures that we have in classrooms and in schools, specifically through kindergarten through 6th grade, kind of push mainstream, assumably US culture, whether we realize it or not. And it kind of forces students to think that they have to be competitive and individualistic is the words that they use, but also quiet and focused on just getting their work done as opposed to maybe being part of a larger community. And I know one of our group members mentioned too that that's kind of in contrast to what we always profess as teachers, we want you to work collaboratively, but yet our social constructs are kind of working against us in that sense. So.
Thank you, Stephanie. Beautifully said. Yes. You know, if we consider we have a mainstream and traditional, very narrow scope of what is defined as appropriate behavior in the classroom for students, how we define students that are academically competent, right? And so that's really what this section is talking about, you know, that very small, and you're right, there's contradictions within that culture, especially as we're beginning to transition, right?
Right. The other piece of that is, I love the picture, by the way. That's awesome. And you know, the keynote speaker in the afternoon was, we're redesigning standards because we're trying to be a little bit more culturally responsive and sustaining. So thankfully, they're revising the standards, because if we keep having this standard way of demonstrating knowledge or expressing your learning, then it stays within this mainstream cultural value. So that's.
Yep. Let's move along. We're at 2:42. All right. Breakout room 2. Who would like to share? Just very quickly, please. Thank you, Stephanie.
I can share.
Thank you.
I just think that there were like two main ideas that really were poignant and stood out to the group. One of them examined how, like, really, this was a great example. African-American cultural values may include like a lot of movement. And I was thinking, wow, how many times do we tell students, sit down, stay still, sit at your desk, and how that just invalidates everything that they're bringing from home. And another thing that really brought to my mind was that it's so easy to really honor and integrate the cultural values of our students. So one of the other values they discussed was community and collaboration. And it's so easy and simple to integrate this by celebrating kindness and sharing and using community supplies versus individual supplies. Of course, with COVID, that becomes difficult. But now that we're breaking past those barriers, I think that if we really consider it, we can really integrate and respect and honor the values of our students.
Thank you so much, Eileen. Very well said. That was a big part of the article, the African-American piece, and I think you really captured it perfectly. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to breakout room 3, Asian American cultural values. Somebody from that group, if you could just jump in and just talk to us about what your group spoke about. More than one person can speak. We just got to move it along.
Sarah, how about you? I liked your input on that.
Corinne voluntolding. Go ahead.
Did you say me? So we read about it and we actually really enjoyed this article, and we felt like we would read the whole paper just to learn about all the different cultures.
Thank you. Great.
So we really found this valuable. For Asian Americans, we found that they have a lot of core values that influence how they interact with schools, such as collectivism, conformity to norms, and all these other things. Our discussion was really great because we recognize, even in ourselves as staff, we feel that discontinuity with the system, and we're often trying to balance it, address it in some way or manner with our students and with administration. Yeah, so that was our discussion.
Wow, Tamara, thank you so much. Again,
I love that point so much, that, we forget, like, we're people too. We're people too. We have cultural backgrounds that are not recognized by the mainstream norm. That's an excellent point. And I love how you put the star at the top. This article is, a little bit like, there's diversity within the examples that they researched. So they did, observations and interviews and things like that to get all this information, but there is so much diversity, out there that they can't possibly tap into all of it. So this is, definitely, like Monica said earlier, scratching the surface, but so thank you for that star.
And the Asian American piece really speaks to the importance of not just academic success, right, but SEL success in schools. Because we know from the research that Asian American students do very well in school, but they also do suffer a lot of social emotional repercussions from some of this trying to, get them to assimilate down that narrow path. Thank you. Okay, Latino American cultural values, breakout room 4. Thank you. Thank you. You guys have been awesome.
So we were reading, and we actually decided to read as a group, and some people read out loud, and we had like 3 distinct takeaways. The first one was that, similar to what we've been hearing all day, the cultural values of Mexican Americans in the study were considered to be systematically omitted, so just not addressed in general, and that 2 specific concepts are really important to Latina populations. And the first one is collectivism, which they defined as an individual is interdependent and they make contributions for the benefit of the family or the group. And the second one being spatiotemporal fluidity. And that's the idea that you're doing many things at one time, but you're engaged in all those things at the same time. So those 2 things should be considered if we have a strong population of Latina students in how we design instruction.
Awesome,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Breakout 5 was also worked on the Latino section. I'm sorry about that. Oops. So I don't know if Breakout 5 wants to add to that.
Yeah, sure.
Even though
You guys had-
even though it says Native American culture, they were working on the Latino section.
Yeah, there seemed to be some confusion there, but one of
No
our
worries.
biggest takeaways was just the importance of family amongst that culture, and the interconnectedness and collective nature of the culture, and how they really benefited from group work as opposed to working as individuals.
Awesome. Thank you so much for, being so helpful there. And I'm going to share my screen again on another page. Back to the slideshow. Can you see this here? So the Native American, we didn't have a breakout group for that. And so these are the points in the purple here. And the green words are links to other articles. If you're interested in another time, you can read a little bit about Verve and a little bit about respect for elders in the Asian American community, or the spatial temporal fluidity for Latino. Some articles we found that connected to each of those aspects. It was really interesting, and it just brings to light some of the cultural experiences that our students have.
Yep. So the article you just read is about 14 years old. So we wanted to ensure that, but very relevant still. And there's not a lot of research after that around this. So I think that's why it makes it's such a significant article. I heard from many of you that you'd be interested in continuing to just explore all the other areas that were not assigned to you during this breakout session. But these articles that Christine found are really great in order to really build your knowledge, right? And that will really help support the dialogue that we hope that will begin to happen with this new awareness and these new knowings.
So the next slide is talking about, the demographic imperative. Not only that we believe it's a professional imperative, but based on the demographics today. Monica, if you want to speak a little bit to this.
Yep. So the demographic imperative is a term that's utilized by many scholars and researchers to discuss the reality of what the demographics are in United States schools, right? 85%, approximately 85% of all teachers in the United States are white females. And that is in stark contrast to our student population that is becoming increasingly diverse culturally and linguistically. We know that English language learner numbers are increasing across the board. So, and we also recognize that in order for us to look at this cultural gap, we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional about it because this is the landscape. So this doesn't just happen. It has to happen through dialogue, through new knowledge, through cultural understanding and awareness and research and discussion. And that's what Christine and I are very passionate about. How do we allow teachers time and space to grow and to develop in this area when it comes to connecting with students? That piece, that cultural connection piece, is a pivotal piece to any of the culturally relevant pedagogies, whether it's culturally responsive pedagogies or culturally sustaining pedagogies. So you can't skip over it. Christine.
Right. So our hope is that, through our conversations and our work, is to create cultural continuity. And we want to spend a little time. How are we doing on time, Monica?
We have 10 minutes.
Yeah. So maybe we just can, this is a small enough group, I think, maybe Monica, we could, we want you to like bring to mind one of your students. Like think about one student right now that you like, you're really like thinking about, like you go home at night and you're thinking about this kid and you're worried, or maybe you're concerned, or you're just trying to reach them. And think of that student through a cultural discontinuity lens, some of their academic social behaviors, maybe some of the classroom teachers, if you're a teacher of ELLs and ELL teacher, and you work with a co-teacher, some of their assumptions or responses to this student, classroom practices or classroom policies, and just kind of think of it. You guys already started touching upon that as you were talking in your breakout session, but maybe if anybody wanted to add a little bit more, thinking about one specific student, not naming them per se, but just really just maybe describing something now. Anybody want to share? One little guy or one little girl you really like thinking about?
I could share something. There's a student of mine, he's always angry, okay? And this is not just with me, it's across the board. I push into the class as a FLES teacher, but his classroom teachers, he's an ICT student, and he's just, his older brother's in trouble a lot, and he has a younger brother who's actually a very good student, and he's sort of stuck in the middle. I was talking to the students about real life situations, and I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. I grew up in a poor family, and my parents were not educated. My grandmother was college educated, but my parents dropped out of high school. So it was jarring for him to hear that, because he didn't think that about me and wouldn't have made that assumption. So it was and I have 2 master's degrees now, and I was a girl who was not supposed to go to college. And when I felt like the room was rumbling and not focusing a few kids, I just decided to bring it home and say, this is your way out of whatever negative circumstances you're in. Because these kids are I'm in a challenging district where kids are, exposed to a lot of poverty and whatnot on a daily basis. So, just to kind of skirt that issue. But he was like, quiet, shut up, listen. She's saying something really important. And it was such a wonderful feeling to know that my message was being heard by him, because he will be the first one. And he was calling me ma'am by the end of the lesson. And it was a moment where I felt so good. By the end of the day, I took that with me. I carried it home, and it was inspirational for me.
Wow.
The words can make that, our experiences, especially when they're unexpected for students, can make a big impact. And if we connect to them in a way that they don't expect, all of a sudden the meaning becomes very clear for them.
Yeah. Right. Corinne, he actually validated your story. And that happened only because you brought your culture into the culture of the mainstream classroom, right?
Yes.
What a beautiful moment, and how impactful for both of you to have shared that. So it really doesn't matter which way it goes, whether it's, student, teacher, teacher, student, right? Christine?
Yeah, it's just so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing, because it's really about caring. And that's a big piece of this work too. It's like taking the time to care, but at the same time, having an academic, rigorous program, so that the child knows that you care about them and you want them to succeed and you want them to grow in so many ways. So yeah, it's a big piece. And the other piece that you tapped into,
Sorry. My building.
the other piece is like it's about dialogue. Like that's what we're talking about today. It's just, we wish we had a lot of time here to like break up into dialogue groups, because it's really big that, having that interaction and relational experience was big. Does anybody else want to share, consider, a really special student you're really thinking about every single day? You go home at night. I mean, I have a couple in my head, and, that you see them every day and you're like, oh, your heart is there.
I'm an ELL teacher, and so sometimes when my students move, to the States from abroad, and they come from very strict school environments where they sit in rows and they just listen and they're very respectful and raise their hand to speak. they come and they're really kind of like shocked by the activity in the classroom at times, and they get really excited by it, and then they like run with it and like don't really know how to like balance, you know, being active at this time and then, you know, sitting and listening and engaging in that way at another time. So like that's one thing I've noticed somewhat consistently with some of my new entrants, and something that like they definitely have to work on, because then teachers perceive them as a behavioral problem, when they're really just trying to find the balance of like, okay, you want me to be excited in this moment and interactive and engaging, and then now here I have to be quiet again, and so they're just figuring out the differences there.
Yeah, that's such a great point. The behavioral response, like students have a behavioral response to our system, our school structure, whether it be you as a teacher, but the whole school structure, the time, the clock, the bells, and, you know, sit down, stand up. And then with COVID, it exacerbated it, right? Like distance, behind a mask, that whole thing. But like the behavioral responses, we're constantly bringing up kids for RTI and giving them behavioral interventions. And Monica and I are saying, like, we need interventions for teachers, for administrators, for schools, because we need to change the way things are going on, you know, and, you know, it's hard to do that on a macro level, but we're hoping to just kind of do that a little bit just on a teacher level.
Yeah, Eileen, you spoke to exactly what we mentioned before about, you know, what lens are we looking through when we are making these assumptions about students? And quite often it is the culture of the school. It is that mainstream culture that is mentioned in the article, and it is perception. So as we begin to support and to become more responsive and inclusive of all students, that perception needs to widen and change. And I think that the more we move in that direction, the more we will find those moments that Corinne just mentioned. Sometimes we have to model you know, what we want students to feel safe doing, right? So I think that's really important. Thank you, Eileen.
You know,
really great comments.
Brings us back to what Tamara was saying before. It's like in their slide, there's a diversity in cultural groups. There's diversity in every single one of us. I may not respond the way you think I'm going to respond based on my cultural background. So we have to make sure that we're talking and addressing everyone in the room. If we're making decisions about a kid's educational plan, everyone in that space, let's make sure we're like not having any assumptions or bias here. Let's talk really openly. And that needs a lot of safe, you know, conversational spaces. So I think we're going to run out of time.
Yep, we've got 2 minutes. Christine and I really want to, we wanted to get some feedback from you about how this resonated with you in terms of is continuing a dialogue around this something that you're interested in doing? Christine, I know you created a
little question mark there, and there's a link to a Google form. If you wouldn't mind just filling it out, it's a simple yes or no. Are you engaged in any critical dialogue and reflections with your colleagues? Maybe you're doing it outside of your professional circle. Maybe you're doing it in a personal way. There are lots of groups that people are in that we don't get to talk about, you know, like some people go to church groups, some people go to like, you know, different groups to work on some of their bias or concerns or thinking about students and their work. So there's 2 questions. Are you doing anything like this, or would you like to? And then, you know, based on the responses, we might, you know, get a little something going with Long Island Auburn and
Christine, the link. Can we put the link in?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna just.
Let me do
and
that.
I'll keep the room open as long as anyone wants to stay here.
Okay,
So
and if you complete the form and you give us your email address, we want to make sure that you get this updated PowerPoint presentation with all of the links in it so that you can, I like to call it like a little goodie bag after a little professional learning session, right? It's all good stuff. So we hope you get, you know, if you fill it out, we'll make sure we'll figure it out with Dr. Credere how to get it to you.
Also, if you send it to me,